We have with us today Shiva Mudgil, Senior Industry Analyst, Packaging, Dairy, Poultry, Rabobank, India. Rabobank is a global leader in food and agri banking. It's a cooperative bank from Netherlands with presence in 39 countries globally. Coverage includes food and agri value chain right from farm to consumer for different food and agri products, working with farmers and corporates through financing, food and agri knowledge, and wide global network. A very warm welcome to you, Shiva, on my show, Insights with Nidhi Verma.
Thanks a lot, Nidhi, and it's a pleasure talking to you. And first of all, I must compliment you for keeping us engaged during past few months. And I have actually seen many of your interviews. At least it's a good way of keeping us updated during this situation. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, and thanks everyone who's watching. That's also kept us going.
Yes.
To set the context, Shiva, since you and your organization are dealing with leading global and Indian packaging companies, both in film production as well as in converting, what's your pre-COVID overview of the Indian flexible packaging industry?
Okay, so just to start with, if I look at Indian, and for the packaging, we need to understand the food and beverage processing in India. So aggregated level of processing in agriculture is around 10%. And if you look at sector-wise, dairy is around 25%, poultry is around 10%, then fish and shrimp combined together would be around less than 10%, grains and fresh produce, which is fruits and vegetables, less than 5%. So when I say processing, that part is like processed and packaged. So you can imagine how much is still coming in loose. So this is one part where we see how the situation is, and now we see a shift from loose to packaged. And there's clearly opportunities across all the food and agri spectrum. Now coming to the numbers, and I will quote Eurometer here. So if I look at the overall processed food and agri beverage segment in India, it's roughly around 150 billion US dollar in current year, 2019, 2020. And if you look at 5 years from now, it should be growing at a rate of around 10% and should be reaching around 230 billion US dollar. So this is really a good growth if you look at in terms of how the processing levels are, and we are shifting towards more processed and packaged food. Second part is if I just look at packaging industry itself, and I look at global data numbers here, and it's counting number of units being sold in India. So currently around 260 billion units are being sold, and number of packaging units for food and beverage across all, including flexible and non-flexible. And it's expected to grow around 7.5% for the next 5 years annually. Again, in terms of units only, will be reaching around 370 billion units. So within this, now we have flexible packaging, which is covering 2/3 of the total market. So you can imagine how flexible packaging versus non-flexible packaging, which includes rigid, metal, and glass. So 2/3 is only flexible.
Thanks, Shiva, for sharing those numbers with us. What emerging trends during the pandemic you see in the packaged foods, beverages, nutraceuticals industry in India, based on the spurt in demand and the changing consumer behavior we've seen?
Okay. So I think one of the key trends, which I just mentioned about how this informal or unorganized market is shifting towards organized. So that's what we have seen in terms of revalidation or acceleration of that trend. So it has been happening for the past decade, more than a decade now, in terms of loose to packaged for different kind of products. But now clearly there has been a rapid shift in terms of, and I saw in one of your interviews where Mr. Sodi was talking about dairy industry also. So clearly these are the indicators we are looking at all across food and agri segments, where we see more and more of packaged products are coming in. And that's to do with another consumer trend that we see, that we are working from home. So in a way, retail consumption or in-household consumption of some products are going to go up. And one of the key products, and I relate to dairy again here, is long life milk, which is Tetra Pak kind of products, whether it's a plain milk for normal consumption, it's durable, it's convenient, or it can be even flavored milk or milkshakes in Tetra Pak form, even juices for that matter. So clearly we are seeing more and more of those kind of sales happening at household level.
Shiva, are you being approached for enhancement of working capital limits or loans for new machinery or investments? Your banking side?
So this is, of course, not really for me to answer as it's more of a banking question, but like we, as I mentioned, and you mentioned earlier, that we do deal with a lot of global packaging companies, Indian packaging companies who are our clients, and there have been ongoing discussions with them on long-term facilities, on working capital facilities. So though I will say with a rider that and not only on packaging, in general, we have seen because of the situation, and I think one of your an earlier interview, again, I will refer to most of them. They are saying that we need to conserve cash at industry level and even at personal level. I think it's very well clear that we need to conserve cash right now, spending and it doesn't make any sense when your capacities are running below. Why to expand at this stage? However, I do see that uh, because packaging as such is getting benefited clearly because of this crisis situation, I do see this situation of investment maybe not immediate, but will happen in coming years.
Okay. Have you known of any NPAs in the portfolios from the flexible packaging material manufacturers at all?
Not for us, fortunately, nothing so far. Yeah.
Okay. How you evaluate the financial performance of the packaging industry over the last few months with respect to last year, the top line, the margins? You must have done the calculations.
Yes. So if you look at FY19 results, and ours is like April to March, and that time in that year, most of the companies haven't shown that great result. In terms of margins, they were lower because even if you look at crude oil prices, they were kind of more than 60 for most of the year. They were between more than $60 per barrel. If you look at FY20, which is last year, the price of crude oil has gone down from 60 level to now. It was largely in the range of 50 to 60 US dollar per barrel. So that was like a more of a kind of situation which was benefiting the industry, lower raw material prices for them, the feedstock, which is MEG, PTA, paraxylene, those kind of stuff. So clearly, if you look at last year performance, most of the companies have shown better margins. And I actually was analyzing last 5 to 6 years results of most of these companies, leading players in India. I think last year was a record performance for EBITDA margins for most of these companies. Most of them have double-digit EBITDA margins. I think that way they must have been feeling good in terms of how the market has been for them. Yes, revenue for them got impacted because the last quarter, March second half, lockdown impact was completely on revenues, sales were stopped. So I don't see much of revenue uplift in the last year. Coming to the current year, again, I think crude oil prices possibly will remain on the lower level. They are actually showing up an upward trend, but compared to what we saw in FY19, they are still on the lower side. So I believe this year also the margins should be better, may not be up to the level of what we saw in the last year. If any company can actually manage that level, it will be really good. But again, sustaining that level or even lower than that, slightly lower than that, I think that will be really a good achievement for these companies. Revenue will be impacted because the raw material prices have come down. So of course, your realization is also lower. So revenue might still be a challenge for the current year.
Understood clearly. What main challenges you foresee for our packaging companies in the immediate future and well as the long term?
Okay. So the point that I earlier alluded to was on the capacity performance of the companies. So I think that will still remain lower. If you look at the overall food and agri companies, how they are performing, most of them are operating in the range of 70% to 80% capacity utilization across different food products, like even dairy. Poultry is even lower at 50% to 60%. So I think that will remain a challenge because your demand is coming in from these kind of segments. And I'm talking for food and agri here. And I mentioned about the capacity expansion plan. So what happened was there were some companies who were expanding or had plans to expand in this year. Because of COVID-19, they had to delay that investment plan for the time being. But I'm sure they will come back on the table in FY21 and FY22. So the only challenge here I see is that as an industry stakeholder, I will see there's a good demand of packaging coming in. Packaging industry is getting benefited. And I, as a packaging company, need to upscale. So I need to invest in capacity expansion. And that would be the mindset of all the packaging companies. So possibly we may see a kind of capacity expansion or surplus in coming years. And that can actually be a negative in terms of surplus capacity leading to price competition in the market, and margins may get impacted. So the point I was mentioning on the margins last year and the current year, possibly that may not be that good in FY22 kind of, though it's very still far away, but I do see that kind of situation.
No, thank you for taking us through. We understood that clearly. Shiva, the sustainability issues around packaging, are they going to be affecting the bank's lending decisions, you think?
So for us, you initially mentioned in the introduction also, we are a cooperative bank from Netherlands focused on food and agri largely outside Netherlands. And sustainability is a very key critical aspect for us while making banking decisions. And one more point is that we are rated #1 in Sustainalytics, which is based on ESG parameter, like environmental, social, and governance parameters. These matrices we look at while making our banking decisions. And for us, it becomes very critical to look at how the overall supply chain or the value chain in that product category is, or in that sector is sustainable. So yes, for us, coming back to your point, it's really critical. We look at all these criteria for making our banking decisions. So particularly like packaging, you are aware of the current issues coming in. So that's clearly one of the things that we look at. Yeah.
You will be taking that into consideration. Shiva, how you see the agri sector growth in the balance of 20 and 21?
Okay. So on this, Nidhi, if we look at current monsoon situation, so I will start with that. And we look at last, I think update was coming in on around 24th of July. So as per that, monsoon spread has been good so far, and we are surplus by around 6%, like 106% above normal, which is a good thing. Most of the places we had good rainfall. There are few areas, but still I think we have full August month. We'll be having a better clarity once August is also over. So, but so far it has been good spread. And also if I look at the acreage for the current Kharif season, the cropping season, and so normally in this season, we look at 100 million hectares of agriculture area, which is sown with crops during Kharif season. Almost 80% has been sown till so far. And this is 18.5% above the last year. So that way, if I look at the current situation of agriculture, it's better than the last year. If you remember last year, we had a delayed monsoon. So that got kind of a situation which was not really good for some of the farmers. But so far, this has been really good for all the key crops, whether it's rice or even sugarcane, cotton. I think most, even pulses also, we see good acreage being sown. So we expect good Kharif harvest coming in for this season. So that's one thing that we are looking at. Apart from that, I think, and you also know about this financial support plan, which was given by the government of India, in which government of India has given an outlay of around 1.6 lakh crore for agriculture activities. So I believe clubbed with that, and they have announced a few agri reforms also. I think going forward, maybe it may not be immediate as such, but going forward, it should bode well for Indian agriculture. So I think this is really a good positive step coming in from the government of India.
Considering a lot of our companies, they do sell to the farmers in the agri sector, the pipes, the mesh films. So I think that's good news for them. Shiva, what is your view on the anti-China sentiment currently running? And do you think the Indian business will benefit from that?
Okay, that's a bit of tricky and kind of may not be a single answer to that kind of situation. And I'm sure you might have spoken to many of the other stakeholders in that for that question. So my belief is that if you look at the current situation all across the globe, the current theme is being of protectionist. So every country is like, even starting from US itself, they are focusing more on how to be more of inward looking You focus on local production, providing local support, local job employment opportunities. So I think this is to do with every other country that we look at, how the situation is evolving. As far as packaging industry is concerned, uh, and in India, I'm not really sure how much that would be of a kind of material impact on India. Yes, for import perspective, we may have some engagement with China on packaging raw material, but so do with other countries like in Southeast Asia, and we do import from other Asian countries as well. So for me, I think if I'm a packaging industry stakeholder, I think business economics will take first priority. If I'm getting a cheaper product from any other country, even in China, or maybe not China, from any other country, I will go for that. And locally also, if there are any cheaper available sources, I will go for that. I think if you look at the current situation, they try to create a balance in terms of having some import base, some domestic sourcing base. So that would be the future situation as well.
Fair enough. Siva, what is your view on the M&As and acquisition space? Because we have seen that few companies, they have done multiple acquisitions in our vertical of the industry, but not many coming. What are the main parameters that foreign companies are finding it difficult to kind of either do mergers, acquisitions, or JVs?
Okay, I will divide it into two different subjects. One is film manufacturing, like what we produce as BOPP and BOPET, the two major film segments in India. And then the converter, which are next in line and also engaging with the end user companies. So as far as film manufacturing is concerned, I don't see global players looking at India, and we haven't seen much of investment so far. Maybe like Topan has done some investment in India so far, but not much. And the key reason here is that if you look at Indian market versus global markets, Indian market is still largely basic products as far as the packaging is concerned. Yes, we do have some share of value-add packaging, but compared to what we see globally, our share of value-add packaging is still quite low. And that may not be of interest to many of the global companies. In fact, it's the other way around. If you see some of the companies in India who are the film manufacturers, they are going out, whether you talk about Jindal, Cosmo, Polyplex, SRF, all have bases outside on the film manufacturing side also. So that's, I think they are looking at catering to the global market through different bases, not only in India, from outside also. So that's the story in film manufacturing. As far as converter segment is concerned, I do think that there are clearly interests coming in. There are a few companies who have made multiple acquisitions in India, and they have a buy and build strategy. So they buy companies and then try to expand on that. Being a global bank, and I mentioned that we have some clients engagement with global companies, we do see some interest coming in from those companies who are not yet in India. So I think it's still taking time for them to look at Indian market, understand the market. And other thing is that converter market is still fragmented. Unlike film manufacturing, there are many players, and they may look at some kind of the right asset, possibly, which can complement their global business also. But I'm sure that there is interest. Possibly it's more to do with the timing.
And also, I think you brought out this point that we need to be a little more focused on more value additions as well as more niche applications that will be of more interest to the foreign companies. Well taken. Shiva, the final question. What is the outlook for our industry that you've kind of done your analysis on?
So outlook, I think we can go back to the initial question that you asked and about this formalization or loose to package shift that we are seeing. So as a packaging stakeholder, industry stakeholder, I see packaging industry getting benefited. So the current situation is unfortunate, but in overall scenario, I think packaging segment will definitely get a boost in medium to long term. More people looking for quality package solutions. So clearly that's a positive for Indian packaging industry. Branded market, as we initially talked about 10% aggregated level. So that share is also going to go up. So that will actually trigger more of packaging demand from these end user industry. The issue and possibly the opportunity here would be how to look at the value add segment, which will give margins, better margins opportunity in the value chain. I think that's where most of the companies, and again, your interaction with some of the industry stakeholder has given that idea that they are focusing on value-add segments, how to improve the value-add packaging part. So I think therein possibly we see companies focusing on, how to focus more on value add with direct engagement with food and beverage companies. So that's how I look at the market in coming years.
On that optimistic note, Shiva, thank you so much. We got a peek into how one of the world's largest banks are looking at our sector, and our converters and our film producers will get a lot of learning from this interview. We're going to thank you very much, and we shall see you soon on the other side. Thank you, Shiva.
Thanks a lot, Nidhi. I think, as I mentioned earlier, it's really a pleasure talking to you, and we look forward to much more engagement, and possibly I will see many more interviews with other stakeholders. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shiva. Thank you. Thanks again.